From Blanco Cocina and Cantina here in Tempe, it's time for Dugout Chatter with head coach Willie Bloomquist. I'm your host, Braiden Bell. And Coach, pretty good start to the conference weekend. We'll get to more details on that in a moment. A series win against TCU as well as a midweek win against Arizona that, even though it doesn't count towards Big 12 play, of course, you always want to beat the team down south. Overall, about as good of a week as you could have hoped for. Of course, you always want to go 4-0, but a 3-1 record against opponents the quality of TCU and Arizona, pretty impressive stuff. Yeah,
it was a good week. I think we learned a lot about ourselves. We faced a little bit of adversity on Friday and had a tough one that we almost pulled off there on Friday, but we were able to bounce back and put a drubbing on them on Saturday, and then a performance on Sunday where we were able to shut them out, and that was a great way to finish the weekend. So, and then of course, as you mentioned, it's always good to beat the U of A, no matter what sport, no matter if it's flag football or a midweek game against them. It's always good to send them back to Tucson packing. So that was a lot of fun, and then obviously looking forward to this week ahead.
Yeah, you guys will travel to Kansas State this upcoming weekend. We'll get more to that later on in the program, but let's talk about that TCU series specifically. You know, you mentioned that game on Friday, which was a pitcher's duel down to the very end. TCU made a clutch play in the bottom of the ninth inning to basically win in walk-off fashion on the defensive side of the baseball. But you guys bounced back, a convincing win on Saturday, and then Sunday it was Kole Klecker, who we'll have on the show later today, who threw a phenomenal game for ASU on the mound. But I'm curious, Willie, in terms of the resolve your group showed, because that was a tough loss on Friday, an emotional game against TCU, but you guys bounced back and won in convincing fashion really 2 days in a row. What does it say about this group and the makeup of this team?
Well, I think it's just they start believing that they're pretty good, and we as a whole, I don't think we as a group we thought we played very good on Friday, and we were still right there to beat their Friday night guy, and we had our guy going, and we just didn't execute very well on the offensive side of the ball, and we still were in position to win that game. And we realized that if we clean a few things up and stick to our offensive approach and that plan, that we can put up more runs. This is don't be scared of browbeating somebody that's a top-ranked team. We can do those type of things. So they bounced back in a great way on Saturday, put up a lot of runs, squared up a lot of baseballs, and then same thing on Sunday. I thought actually we swung the bat pretty well on Sunday. We just didn't get a lot of runs on Sunday, but we didn't need a lot because we had a pretty good guy of our own on the mound on Sunday that got it done. So, again, bottom line, great job to bounce back and get the series win off a top 25 team and a team that's, like I said, early on picked to win our conference. So it's nice to get a series win over them.
Yeah, series win, winning 2 of 3 against number TCU, and that moves you guys up into the rankings. Number 24 now in the country in the Baseball America poll, which is, early on of the year, but that's good to see some national respect as well in that front. I wanted to ask you about Kole Klecker and his performance on Sunday. 7 innings of shutout baseball against his former squad. We'll learn more about his story later on in the show, but a local product, a Valley kid who came back home to play for ASU. How special was that to be a part of it? I know you've known him for a long time, and to see him perform not only against his former team, but in the opening conference weekend and do so just masterfully. What was that like for you?
Well, honestly, it as I kind of told our team after the game, baseball has a way of being poetic sometimes and kind of has a lot of those full circle moments. It kind of choked me up for a second a little bit. I'm like, gosh, I'm getting soft. But, it was actually really cool to just be a part of that whole story and witness that whole thing from a kid that I recruited when I first got this job. And I give him a hard time that he made the wrong decision the first time around. But, nonetheless, he went and had a lot of success there and pitched in the College World Series as a freshman and had a great run at TCU. And we got a chance to get him again in the portal. And this time we were able to hit on him and bring him back home. And it was that in itself was pretty cool. But then just to see how he's embraced the challenges that he's had in the fall and worked his way through those to where he's been dominant in the spring, just in the inter squads that we've had. And then, to the point where, again, not looking ahead in our schedule, but we lined him up to have in our minds, the toughest games through the first 2 or 3 weekends there with our midweeks, how they were lining up with UConn and Oklahoma. We wanted to match him up. I'm like, man, he's throwing the balls better than anybody, and those are midweek games, but they're going to be big down the road. So we matched him up there, knowing that we were assuming he kept throwing the ball the way he was, that we were going to move him into the rotation probably the weekend that he's going to face his old team. But sometimes you can kind of worry that the emotions are going to be too big for a young man in this situation. But with him being around the block a time or two and having a lot of experience, we figured that he was going to be just fine and settle in really well against his old team. And man, what a tremendous performance on his part. And we obviously got the series win, and the way he threw the ball was just really, really a cool moment.
Chatting with Willie Bloomquist, ASU head baseball coach here on Dugout Chatter. Coach, you talked about this after the game, and I kind of wanted to get you to elaborate on it a bit more in terms of your role as a head coach. Sometimes you're going to walk out there on the mound with the intent maybe of pulling a guy, and something changes, whether it's a conversation or in the case of Kole yesterday, you said it looked like he was almost staring into your soul. He wanted to stay out there so badly. What are some of those things when sometimes we're in a game where it's so analytically driven, numbers are so valuable, but sometimes it comes down to just a conversation or a look or something that's said that can convince you to allow a guy to stay in a game, and that's what happened yesterday with Kole.
Well, I think you get a good feel, and sometimes when I come out of the dugout and start walking out there, you see the body language just slump over, and it's like, oh, my day's done. And immediately when I walked out of the dugout, I kind of looked up, and he's looking like, what the hell are you doing coming out here? And I'm like, well, I'm just going to go make double sure that he knows just to empty the tank on this guy and go get him. I can't tell you all the words that were said on that mound visit, but it was something along the lines of, yes, I'm going to get this guy out, turn around and depart. And so, sometimes you just have that look and you see the look in a guy's eyes and a competitor's eyes. And there's other times you go out there and, man, his gas tank's empty. He doesn't have anything left. And sometimes that's in those key moments of a game. I can obviously send Jeremy out there and have him take a look, but those are things that I got to know if I'm going to make a decision when I go out there or not. But I knew pretty quickly on the way out to the mound that I wasn't taking him out right there. And then he reaffirmed it when I got up on the bump.
Kole obviously was great. It was the first ranked shutout win for this program since 2018, and that happened, of course, Sunday against TCU. But it wasn't just Kole. I kind of wanted to ask you about the pitching staff as a whole because we saw some great performances. Cole Carlone's pitch count got high on Friday, but he struck out a new career-high 11 and looked really good out there on Friday. Taylor Penn's been quite the weapon out of the bullpen for this group, as well as Sean Fitzpatrick, who has turned into a lefty specialist that nobody wants to face, regardless of the side that the hitter steps into the box from. I kind of just wanted to see where you're gauging your pitching staff so far because we've seen some people emerge. Obviously, some names we knew about before are performing really well to this point as well.
Yeah, I mean it's not a finished product yet. I mean we still need some guys to step up and do a good job. Obviously, when you have starters that are able to give you length, on Sunday we were able to get 7. We didn't have to piece it together too difficultly in the back 2 innings, but when you start getting those guys that are, Saturday where OV had not an OV type outing where he was out after 3+. It gets interesting where you have to have guys step up, and that's where Taylor Penn and those type of guys have really emerged and done a great job to fill that long relief role. But we have a lot of really capable arms that I haven't thrown their best yet. Easton Barrett, who's going to get a nod this week, is a guy that we need to step up. We need another left-handed starter, another left-handed pitcher. And there's Halvey that we need to fill that void of him being out for the rest of the year. And, Jaden Alba needs to step up and start pitching the way he's capable of. And Finn Edwards, those type of guys, if they step up and do what they're supposed to, this thing comes together really nicely. And we got a lot of really good power arms in the bullpen that are also capable of starting. Yeah,
a lot of power arms. Like you said, the velocity is high. Pretty much every arm that comes out of the bullpen, it has been a lot of fun to watch them. Speaking of power, not on the mound, but in terms of the batter's box, we've got a power hitter in Dean Toigo joining us later in the program. But obviously Landon Hairston and what he's been able to do. Had a tough game, uncharacteristic game on Friday against TCU, but woke up in a big way on Saturday, hit his third grand slam of the year against the Horned Frogs, homered again on Sunday. So far through the first 20 games, 19, I guess at this point as we're chatting right now, but hitting .417 with an OPS near 1,400, 8 home runs, 29 runs batted in. I mean, those numbers speak for themselves truly, but what's it like from your view in that first base dugout, just watching him do his thing on a nightly basis?
Landon's a special talent, and we knew when we were getting him that he was the kid that could just flat out hit. There was some things that he needed to get more physical, get stronger, which his freshman year he did a great job of bat to ball, and he was always, guys were always ribbing him that he had warning track power, and I'm like, dude, don't listen to that stuff. Just keep hitting. And as you get older and more physical, the power is going to come, and it certainly has this year. And he's one of those kids that just knows how to hit. I would love to sit up here and take credit for his ability to hit, but I just can't. He's been a natural hitter since he's gotten here. There is not one thing that we've really tweaked with his approach, with his swing. He's just self-made. So he's a special talent, and sometimes the best coaching you can do is none. And in this case, we just let him go and let him hit. There's things from the mentality standpoint and the mental side of things that we teach and coach with him. But as far as the physical ability to just hit, he's got it.
Last one for you here in segment one, Coach. Landon falls into this category as well as Kole Klecker as well, but local products coming back. I know you talked a little bit about this before the year started, but you look around this roster now, and impactful players, a lot of them are from here in the Valley. So you got Landon Hairston, Kole Klecker, Cole Carlone, Josh Schaefer, Josh Butler, Kai McGarry, all those guys, as well as others that I didn't name there, are local products. In terms of building this program, of course, it can span the country. I'm not just saying you were going to recruit here, but to have some of these guys that are impactful players be born and raised here and know this program and love it, it's got to be pretty special.
Yeah, it is, and to me that's if we can control our backyard, and again, it doesn't always mean we're going to get them the first go round, but when some of these guys leave and they go to a place that has all the bells and whistles, and they get there and it's not all it's cracked up to be, the first place they want to go is come back home, even if we lose in the recruiting battle on the first go round. And that's something I've had to learn as a head coach is if we don't land them, you can't burn that bridge, immediately and say, well, that's enough of you. I'm not going to deal with you anymore. You got to congratulate them and, make them feel good about themselves or whatever and say, hey, man, we'll be here when you wake up and smell the coffee and realize you made a mistake. We'll be here waiting for you. And sometimes even on the flip side of that, where there are kids that want to come here that aren't quite ready for this level, that maybe go to a mid-major or something and perform and do well, and then they develop and are ready to come back and help us impact. So, but bottom line, there are also the kids, the Cole Carlones, the Halvies, Josh Butlers, Landon Hairston, the kids that have been here since their freshman year and just developed and evolved over year after year and are now the staples of our program. Those are the special ones that you really love to see, and we had our work cut out for us when we got this job. Sam Peraza did a great job identifying these guys that are on the mound and some position players that we were able to land from our backyard, and they've been huge, impactful guys. So that's the ideal, and if the second tier is that, as we get them on the flip side and on the rebound, but it's just really cool to see the program taking off and having the local grown guys be a major impact of it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we'll get a chance to talk to one of those guys that came to ASU on the rebound, so to speak, Kole Klecker. He'll join us when we come back on Dugout Chatter. Back on Dugout Chatter here from Blanco Cocina and Cantina on KDUS AM 1060. Braiden Bell joined now by a Sun Devil starting pitcher that you heard a lot about in segment number one. He was the star of ASU's shutout win on Sunday against TCU, his former team, I might add. Kole Klecker joins us on the program. Cole, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
So this is a pretty special week for you, I would imagine, that just closed out, knowing that you were going to face your old team in a starter's role in a critical Big 12 matchup. We'll get to the performance in a moment, but leading up to it, the week leading up to it, what was that mental process like to obviously get ready to go, but not to be overhyped?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said it a little bit there. There's a lot of emotions in it. Just coming back here, fourth year, grew up around ASU baseball, and then, looking up and I'm facing my former team that I played at for 3 years to open up Big 12 conference play. It was something that definitely I could have let spiral emotionally, but a big thing for me was just to honestly stay calm and when it came to game day, just try to enjoy it instead of make it something bigger than what it was. So, yeah, a lot of emotions, but obviously ended, great. We clinched the series, great team win, but it was definitely a game that I, won't forget for the rest of my life.
7 innings pitched in that game, and it seemed like, even when there were base runners aboard, there was one great play by Brody Briggs, but other than that, it was pretty limited in terms of what they were able to do against you. Was there one moment that's going to stand out? I know you just said you're going to remember that game for the rest of your life, but is there that one moment that you think, okay, that stands above the rest in terms of your game yesterday?
Probably the ending. We kind of talk about the drama. Bloomy coming out. I thought I was getting pulled before the inning was over. Let me stay in there, and just to get that last batter, kind of enjoyed the moment. The crowd was fired up, and then just throwing the pitchfork out there. I kind of blacked out and did it, but it was just awesome to have the crowd behind me. Awesome to kind of keep that momentum going throughout the game. Then obviously we finished it with the win, so it was very special.
Willie said that baseball sometimes can be poetic. It can also open up moments that are almost like a hero shot, and that's what that was. That pitchfork salute when you're walking off the mound, I think, is probably the best moment of the year in terms of singular images we've seen so far from your squad. In terms of that moment, I know you just said you blacked out, but when you got back in the dugout, right, and you got to kind of decompress a little bit, did it really start to sink in right away, or is it still one of those things that you're still, okay, now we're building off to the next one?
Yeah, I was pretty fired up when I got in the dugout. I think I sprinted from end to end, giving high fives and stuff, jumping around. But yeah, once, Bloomy let me know that was it. I'm giving high fives to everybody. And then when it did kind of calm down, the bottom of the 7th started. I feel like I did get a little more emotional because just it kind of set in, and I realized what I did just do, kind of in terms of the situation, pitching against former team, and then big Sunday game that would, decide the series. I think it was very cool just to almost sit for that 20, 30 seconds where I was like, wow, that was pretty cool. That was a special one that, I'm not going to forget.
No doubt about it. And it was a rubber match, like you said, that clinched the series win that gets you guys off on a good footing, which is super important in a competitive Big 12 conference, of course. I'm curious, this group, we have already talked about how you came over from TCU, a program that's known to have great teams year after year after year. You've been to Omaha in the College World Series before. This group you're playing with this year, though, at ASU, there's so much talent, clearly, just watching you guys from the outside. How special is this group, and what stands out to you about it?
Very special. I think, you said the big word there is talent. I think we could go out there each day and we could put together 2 rosters that could compete, 2 different lineups. It's one of those things, you're working in the fall, you're trying to get better, improve on stuff, and it's really hard when you're facing the hitters that we have day in and day out. But I think that's, I'm going to give a lot of credit to them. They did a really good job, as well as the staff, making it really tough for the pitching staff to succeed in the fall, and that, that challenges you and that makes you a better player in the long run. But yeah, filled with talent. It's a group that, there could be question marks with chemistry because we got a lot of guys coming, in from the portal. We have some new faces with freshmen. Guys are from all around the country, but, we clicked super fast. Just a group of guys that love to be around each other. We have fun. We compete, every day. And it's just been special to be a part of. And, definitely this is a team that has a shot to do something special. And that's what Bloomy reminds us of each and every day. And it kind of just comes down to us executing, in the big moments. And I feel like that was something we did this weekend. So it's really cool to see. And, goal is just to keep building that momentum throughout the season.
Joined here by Kole Klecker, Sun Devil right-hander on Dugout Chatter. You mentioned fall ball, and talking to Willie before the year, he talked about how the fall wasn't great for you. You struggled a bit in the fall. Obviously, we're now seeing you round into form when it matters most, so we put the fall behind us. But mentally, when you're pitching there in the fall, I know there was a start you made against Cal Baptist that didn't go very well. But to get to the point you are now, obviously a lot of it was mental, I believe, and Jeremy and Willie really helped you through that. Take the fans that don't know the backstory through fall ball and getting to the point where you're at now, where they're seeing you throw the ball so well on a Sunday against your former team. What was that process like?
Yeah, to sum it up, just wasn't really a good baseball pitcher in the fall, and that kind of led to a start against Cal Baptist. We took a road trip, started with the early morning, and I had the ball for us, and it was just one of those days where it felt like it didn't matter where I was going to throw it, it was going to get hit. Ended up being, a catastrophic outing. I think it was, 2 innings, 10 runs, not great baseball. I was just kind of shell-shocked. And really what kind of changed the tides was meeting with Coach Bloomquist and Coach Accardo, but he basically just sat me down and said, hey, look, we gotta start pitching with some conviction. We got to start doing things on my own terms, which was huge. And, he kind of said from his point of view, it looked like I was just kind of out there throwing the ball, and it wasn't like I was in control of what I was doing. And, it was almost a sense of, hoping I was going to get these hitters out. So that talk helped me switch it mentally. And like you said, it wasn't anything physical. It was just understanding the type of mentality I need to bring out to the mound with me. And, I started working on that the rest of the fall. I had a great outing against GCU when we scrimmaged them, and then just taking that into the preseason, threw it well, and then just built that momentum into season. And that's kind of where I'm at now. And I feel like I'm in a spot where I am very confident, and I do believe in myself, and I know that the staff believes in me as well, so that's a good spot to be in.
No doubt. And I'm curious in terms of the mental side of the game. It's something I'm passionate about because this game is so challenging, especially when you're out there on the mound. It can be a lonely place when you're struggling. It can be an awesome place when you're pitching like you did against TCU, of course. Who helps you get through those moments when maybe it isn't going so well and you need to find that confidence again, find that belief in yourself? Who are some of those people you lean on when you need that pick-me-up?
Yeah, I think it's the people around you, right? It's my teammates, it's the staff, and it's just, you said it, this game is extremely hard, and, if you make it harder on yourself by not being in a place mentally that's going to help you succeed, becomes even more difficult, and that's kind of something I struggle with in the fall. But just relying on my teammates, knowing that, they have confidence in me, as well as the staff with, Bloomy and Coach Accardo, them saying like, hey, we recruited you for a reason. Like, we got you out of the portal. We know what you can do. We know the pitcher you can be for us. And, they wanted me to be a leader. So it was just understanding like, hey, I got a ton of support around me. Now I just need to believe in myself. And, making that switch has really helped me.
Kole Klecker joining us from Chandler. He's the pride of the Valley, Hamilton High School. But you didn't come to ASU originally. I understand you were Willie Bloomquist's first scholarship offer when he took the job. So clearly you guys go way back. You go to TCU. Now you're back here. You're wearing the right colors.
Gold.
You're performing well. I'm curious, if you look back at that kid that was going to Hamilton High School, and obviously you were succeeding in a big way at the high school level. When you look at that kid to the man you are now, what are some of those biggest changes that you've grown through?
Oh man, there's a lot. Like you said, I grew up here, and was Bloomy's first recruit when he got the job, and just kind of going through the whole story. I was originally committed to Grand Canyon out of high school, and me and my family, decided that wasn't the best spot for me, so ended up decommitting from GCU, and then the original plan was to head straight to ASU, but things changed, and ended up 3 years at TCU, and college, and especially being a college athlete, like you basically show up on campus and then you just start failing at a lot of different things. So it turns you into a different person. You got to learn. You almost kind of got to grow up in a sense. And I think something that I'm grateful for was just the opportunity I had my freshman year to have a really good season. And that I grew up pretty quick through that season. But just taking it back here in my fourth year back at ASU, I feel like the biggest thing is I'm able to, spread the wisdom and experiences I've had in college baseball, especially to the younger guys, the freshmen, and just share what I've gone through, what I've struggled with, what helped me get through certain situations. Because, you look around the locker room and, there'll be a guy or two that's struggling with something, I dealt with a year ago. And it's just putting your arm around their shoulder and saying, hey, I was right there with you, and, I'm here for you, whatever I can do to help. That's been something I'm super grateful for that I've had the opportunity to do here, and it makes the game of baseball even that much more special when you're building relationships too.
Last one for you, Kole. I know there are a couple of guys on this roster that have gone to Omaha, even won national championships with other programs. You mentioned it, that Willie often reminds you guys of this group has the ability of doing something really special, and I'm not going to put labels on what that means. You guys can decide for yourselves. But in terms of trying to get back to Omaha, a place that you were in your freshman year and you pitched for TCU in that big of a moment, how hungry are you? I know that's an obvious question, but how often do you think about that in terms of striving to get back to the crown jewel of our sport?
I mean, like you said, that's the pinnacle of college baseball. It's where you want to be. And, it was a little weird for me because I come into TCU. It's my freshman year. We make a great run, pitch in the College World Series. And then my sophomore year, it's like, all right, we're just going to do that again. And we ended up, not making playoffs, not making the postseason. So it was that really weird feeling where, it's like you almost expected to go there every year. And then coming back my junior year, didn't make it as well. And then here it's like you said, I'm chomping at the bit to get back there. I mean, it's such a special place. It's a special tournament, special, sport here with college baseball. And it's one of those things where we've set the standard high, we've set the expectations high, but we know we have the group here that's able to execute on that. So it's reminding us each and every day, like what we can do, what we're capable of. And, at the end of the day, we want to be the last team standing. So it's really fun to be a part of.
I know I said last one, but I got to follow up with that. Would you say you find yourself appreciating the moments that you're going through now and the success that not only you but your team is having just because of the journey you've been through?
100%. Me and Bloomy talk about it a little bit because it is kind of like a full circle moment for both of us. But I've kind of learned over my years too to be like something I say a lot, and I talk to my teammates about a ton is like being where our 2 feet are, and I think that's a big thing too when you talk about the mental side, and that's something that's helped me. If you're not where your 2 feet are, if you're not enjoying the moment, if you're not being present, you're going to spiral in different ways. You're going to be distracted, and I've come just to enjoy this last year that I have of college baseball, appreciate the people around me, and just appreciate the opportunity to be here at ASU and just being supported by so many people. So it's a really cool thing.
You're an easy guy to root for, Cole. Kole Klecker joining us on the program, a Dugout Chatter. Congrats on the great performance against TCU and continued success down the line.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
When we come back, Dean Toigo, powerful right fielder for the Sun Devils, will join us on Dugout Chatter. Back on Dugout Chatter from Blanco Cocina and Cantina here on KDUS AM 1060. Braiden Bell joined alongside our next guest, another first-year Sun Devil who came over from UNLV. He was just named Big 12 Newcomer of the Week after a hot-hitting weekend against TCU. Dean Toigo joins us. Dean, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. Well, glad to be out here.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm curious in terms of these last couple of games, and we'll get to this more in a moment. Your numbers, they were outstanding. Homered in 5 of his last 6 games, folks. He's clearly figured something out. In case of people that aren't sure of his numbers, but in terms of what's clicking for you recently in the box, I know hitting is such a tough thing to do on a day in day out basis, but when it's going well, it's going well, and right now it is for you. What is clicking?
Yeah, it's been a little up and down to start the year, but worked with Willie on some things the past couple days, and just hunted the pitches that I like to hit, and it's been pretty well for me.
I'm curious hitting in this lineup. We talked about Landon, obviously, and his numbers speak for themselves, but it seems like there's so many different guys. We've seen Austin Rolick have a weekend like you just did. We've seen, PJ hit well, throughout the year as well. Like, there's just been so many names. I could basically name every single person in your starting lineup that have had their moments already this year, and we're just kind of rounding into form in conference play. I know you're new to this program. You're new to the power conference level as well. Of Division I baseball. What's it like hitting in a lineup like this?
Oh, it's fun. It's really fun. I mean, anybody on our lineup can go and ball out. There's no worry that someone's not going to perform. Someone's going to perform. It makes my job a lot easier than it's been in the past. Takes a lot of that pressure off, too, so it's been really nice.
You had yourself a game on Saturday, and your entire team did as well, but 5 hits on Saturday for you. That was a Sun Devil first since Nick McLean back in 2024. So it had been a couple of years since that had happened. 5 hits is certainly something to be proud of. But in terms of that game overall, it seems like you guys came out with an edge. Mm-hmm. Like we were talking about with Willie in segment number 1, that tough loss on Friday where you guys weren't pleased with the way you played and a disappointing finish. But, Saturday you guys came out hot, not just yourself. Did you guys have a talk before the game Saturday or after Friday? It seemed like you guys, really, really came out with an edge.
Yeah, we had to get back on our approach. As you can see on Saturday, I thought we got ourselves in really good counts all day, and I think that was one of the reasons why. When you get the ball up, good things happen, and it was a good all-around day for everyone.
Dean Toigo joining us on the program. You know, it was a great week overall. Just playing at home against really good competition, Arizona and TCU, and winning 3 out of the 4 of those games overall. I got to imagine for you, new to this program and new playing at this level, it had to have been really special. Not even just the wins, of course, those are great, but the crowd support and just the atmospheres overall. How special was that for you?
I mean, it's so much fun. I mean, my family's out here. They're able to watch these games in person, and even they just say there's a different atmosphere. I mean, all the fans, there's a different community. Everyone loves ASU baseball out here. It's really special. I mean, I know when I was running the bases after a couple of the homers, I really took in just the fans and how much support there is. It's a lot of fun.
You know you're hitting well when you get to say, when I was running the bases a couple of times, I got to take in the crowd. Not many people get to say that. But you kind of just alluded to that path you've taken, and I think it's one of the more unique paths that I've seen from a player. So we'll take you through this here. From Yorba Linda in Orange County, then off to Cypress Community College, then to Hope International, the NAIA level, to UNLV, to ASU. Mm-hmm. You hit every single level, basically, of college athletics on your way to Arizona State. Mm-hmm. I know you've talked before about this journey, but what was that like, just climbing the ladder each step, and then you're ultimately to a program like ASU?
Oh, it was something else. I did not think I'd be standing here if you asked me at the beginning of my college career. Looking back, I don't know if I would trade it and come here straight out of a high school. I mean, the different people you meet, the different connections you make. Baseball's funny. I've been very, very happy with my journey. Every different level, I've met different people, and I've gotten to do things on a baseball field that I didn't think I was be able to do. At NAIA, at Hope, we won the World Series. That was special. I'll never forget that. UNLV, got to play with some really close buddies that I never thought I got to do, and it was in Vegas, so that was fun too. And here, where we have a unbelievable group of guys, great coaching staff, and there's a special feel to this team.
You know, I'm curious when you say you wouldn't trade it for anything. I think that's unique, right? There's so many people that are just hungry to start off at a program like ASU, at a Blue Blood, or wherever it may be. They want to start D1 at a big school and just go from there. You had to grind your way through. Why wouldn't you trade it? What was it about your journey that you really cherish?
Yeah, I learned a lot about myself. I learned what type of player I am. I learned how to deal with challenges. And you get to play with a lot of interesting people at different levels. Those are where some of my most fond memories are made with my teammates. Not what we do on the baseball field, how our season turned out, but it's the little things we do, like at a 2 p.m. practice on a random Thursday. It's the things like that make it so special.
Dean Toigo joining us on the program. I don't know why I just thought about this, but the double celebration. Explain that to me. What is the celebration? Last year I had it down. You obviously weren't here, but it was an ode to Cam Scadaboo, the former Sun Devil running back. What's this year's double celebration?
We get to second, and then we just kind of look for the moon, look for the stars, and kind of take everything in. I don't know how it came up. I think we were all just in a little meeting, and one of the guys was just like, "Why don't I do this?" And it's better than anything else we had.
It just stuck. Okay.
Yeah.
It's working for you guys with the way you guys are hitting. One of the things I love about this game is there is no right or wrong way to do it as long as the results come to play for the specific player. You have a unique batting stance. From the left side. You're a big guy at 6'4", but you're standing upright. Where did you develop that stance? And I guess this is also shown on radio, so I'm trying to find a way to explain it. It's upright. There's a waggle in there. It is an interesting stance. When did you kind of develop that stance, and how long have you been sticking with it?
I don't think it got to as unique as it is until like last year.
Okay.
It's more of just like a feel thing, just so I can feel ready to hit. I know all my teammates, even our assistant trainer, they all joke with me and try to impersonate it the best they can. But I mean, like you said, it's unique. It works for me. And I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah, why not? When you're hitting the ball the way you are, then you should hit exactly the way you are. Don't let anyone give you a hard time about it. We had Alex Overbay on the show last week, a former teammate of yours at UNLV. You guys transferred over, and he mentioned that you played a role in Alex coming to ASU as well in terms of, you committed first and tried to get him to follow along when you were both in the portal. What were those conversations like, and what was it about this place you were like, I need to get Alex here too?
Yeah, we grew pretty close towards the end of last year. He's my roommate actually now, so we have some good memories and we have a lot of fun. But we were just talking about some fellow teammates that got into the portal and went to some big schools, and I was like, dummy, what do you think's going to happen if you go in the portal? And then I think this was a pretty fun spot to be. I mean, we played here last year and we had a good time. We got to see the campus and all that stuff. So I think that made it easy for him just to hop on board.
I'm curious, Dean, in terms of playing alongside a guy like Landon, who's hit 3 grand slams already. That is pretty unreal. Are you surprised by anything he does at this point?
No, not at all. He's another unique guy. I mean, he just hits. Wake and rake is a great way to describe him. He's going to wake up and he's going to rake. We like to call him LeBron.
Okay. Why?
Because, I mean, LeBron's one of the GOATs of all time in basketball, and we like to call he's our LeBron.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, I heard last week that King was also talked about as well. I guess those two kind of go hand in hand. I'm curious as well. You play great defense. You obviously rake. You can hit the ball a long ways. What is your favorite thing to do on a baseball field?
I love playing defense. I know I'm known as more of a hitter, but I am a big fan of defense. I know last year I didn't get to play the outfield as much as I wanted to, but it's a lot of fun to play the outfield here. I like making plays when no one thinks you can make them. The walls are shorter and you can rob some balls. I know I haven't had an opportunity yet. I hope I never have an opportunity to do that with our staff, but I love playing defense.
And it's fun at Muni as well. You've got that short wall. You got to be careful on right field. You could flip over that. We've already seen that. But you've got a wide ground at right field at Muni as well to make plays. I'm curious as well, just like being a great defensive outfielder, that first step is so important. And some of it is just instinctual, I would imagine. But, learning how to play right field in a corner outfield position. Take us back to when you first started there and maybe what led you to believe, okay, this is the spot I want to continue playing at?
I first really played right field in junior college. They stuck me over there. I think they said our better defender played right field just because of the pitchers we had and the dimensions of the ballpark. As I played it more, I got more reps in games and in BP. I liked it more than left field, more than center field. I played left field mostly at Hope, a little bit at UNLV too, and there's nothing like right field. Becomes second nature, some of your reads out there, like you said, your first steps. But I love it. I like when there's opposing bullpens that I can talk to and they rag on me a little bit. It's fun to go to some of these places like Oklahoma and Texas where the fans kind of rag on you. That's fun to me. I like being in the middle of that and just hearing what they got, I guess.
Yeah, he's a competitor and he's been hitting the ball a long, long ways. He's the Big 12 newcomer of the week as well. Dean, thanks a lot for joining us, man. Continued success this weekend and beyond, and we're glad you're a Sun Devil.
Awesome. Thank you. It's fun to be here.
We'll be back to wrap up the program tonight. Willie Bloomquist will join us when we come back. Back here on Dugout Chatter from Blanco Cantina and Cocina, KDUS AM 1060. Braiden Bell rejoined by Arizona State head baseball coach Willie Bloomquist. And Coach, let's talk about what's coming up. And certainly it's a big road weekend in Manhattan, Kansas against Kansas State, a team that's been playing really good baseball. They've won 9 of 10 overall, took 2 of 3 from Houston in their conference opening weekend, and an offensive team that's tough. We'll get to that more in a moment, but D. Kennedy, a big-time player for them, 9 home runs on the year. I guess when you look at K-State and you're getting ready for that weekend series, what makes them so dangerous?
They're dynamic offensively. They got some good offensive structure to their lineup. They can beat you in several ways. They run bases well. They got some pop in their bat. Good all-around hitters. So we'll have our work cut out for us on the mound, pitching to them. Their pitching staff, I haven't dove into them a ton yet, but their Friday night kid's a pretty good sinker slider guy with mid-90s velocity, so that'll be a challenge. Their Saturday guys got a really good breaking ball, not overpowering fastball, but a really good breaking ball that'll give us a challenge. And at least last week, if they stay status quo, they got a nice left-hander on Sunday. So we'll have our, it'll be a big series, and just kind of getting away from home out of the friendly confines of Muni, it'll be different. It looks like the weather, if it stays true to form, should cooperate with us, which is, I'm not complaining about, because I think the day before we get there, it's supposed to be like 30 and 25 to 30 mile an hour winds, and then I think on Friday it's supposed to be in the 70s. So we look like it's going to be nice weather for us, thin-blooded Arizonans here. So that'll be good to get to Kansas and hopefully have some nice weather.
An interesting way the Big 12 schedule works out for you guys, obviously starting with TCU, who we've already taken care of in 3 games, but then it's K-State this weekend, it's West Virginia the weekend after, really just bunched up right at the beginning, front-loaded with teams that obviously you never know in conference play, but many expect to be right up there along with you guys near the top of the conference. I guess, what are your thoughts in terms of getting a bunch of these competitive teams right at the beginning? Of course, every series is tough in its own right in Big 12 play, but it's a challenging start for sure.
Well, I think when you look across the board just at the scores and the teams in our conference and how they're doing, it's going to be wide open. There isn't going to be an easy breather of a weekend. I think everybody's going to have a challenge. Anybody can beat anybody, but I think, as the experts have predicted, we have 3, the first 3 or 4 weekends are arguably supposed to be our toughest. I don't know if it's going to end up panning out that way or not, but I do know Kansas State is playing really well. They went down to Houston and put a pretty good beat down on them for a couple games. And had a nice lead going into Sunday, and then ironically, I think they gave up 11 in one inning and end up getting 10 runs. So go figure that out. But at the end of the day, they're going to be a challenge before we come home, and we have 2 midweeks as well before we play against West Virginia. So the next 2 or 3 weeks are going to be really, really challenging with a lot of games, a lot of good teams that we're playing, and we just have to come ready to play.
Chatting with Willie Bloomquist, final segment of Dugout Chatter. A couple more guys that we didn't get to in segment number 1 that I wanted to ask you about in terms of what they were able to do last weekend and obviously what they'll do for the rest of the year as well. First one being Brody Briggs. I alluded to that play he made on Sunday on a really solid play on a swinging bunt that kept TCU off the scoreboard, but just the way he handles the pitching staff, came up with a big hit on Friday in a pinch hitting role in terms of his offense as well, batting from the left side. He's a leader for your group, and I know he's already been able to kind of get you guys going when everyone else has seemed flat as well. How valuable is Brody Briggs?
Briggs, he's a guy you can't put a price tag on, man. He comes ready to play every day. He's pissed off when he's not in the lineup. He literally comes in my office and wants to know why he's not playing today, which I kind of laugh and give him the answer or whatever, but he doesn't agree with it. If I ever pinch hit for him, he comes by mumbling and grumbling and saying words that I can't say on radio right now. But, you love the competitive spirit that he has. He's always arguing with the umpires in kind of a good way. There was a moment this weekend with the home plate umpire. I'm like, gosh, he's going to get tossed. He just will not stop. He'll argue with the fungo if you give him enough time. And he just continues. He won't lose an argument. But you love that stubbornness. You love that competitive fire in him. He always comes to play with energy. And I say this in the most respectful way possible. Doesn't have the prettiest swing in the world, but the dude competes. If we could get a whole offensive approach that battles at the plate like he does, man, we would be in really good shape because he knows how to compete up there. But what he does with the pitching staff behind the plate on a defensive side of the ball, earning their trust, having those guys want to throw to him, and does a great job blocking the ball, and then arguably had two of our bigger plays, in that game on Sunday with the swinging bunt that he was able to be aware to go retrieve that and then get back and beat Jack Bell to the plate there and tag him. And then the back pick, too, that kind of goes unnoticed on he back picked Liddington, another homegrown local kid from here. They backpicked him in a big situation. So he's just been outstanding back there.
One other person I wanted to touch on and certainly give some flowers to is Sean Fitzpatrick out of the bullpen. Light on lefties in terms of bullpen arms, at least to start the year, and everyone knew Fitzpatrick was going to play a big role, but so far this year, 10 outings, has yet to allow a run. He struck out 15 and 8 1/3. I know he worked a lot on his physique in the offseason, putting on some muscle mass, and certainly that has helped an uptick in velocity. But he just seems like a guy that's really confident and really comfortable in what he's throwing right now.
Yeah, Fitzy's done a great job, and as you mentioned, he's not a real big kid, but he has added a little bit of mass, and I think that's a direct correlation. He's throwing the ball a little bit harder this year. It has a little bit more zip on it, and he's confident. Every time he goes out there, he knows that he's going to get this guy out. And we talked a lot about, he's so funky with his delivery. The importance of working ahead for him is just huge, because the more pitches you see off a guy that's funky, the more comfortable you get. But if you're all of a sudden behind 0-1, 0-2, and you're behind in the count and you still aren't seeing this guy very good, it makes for a very difficult at bat on that side of the ball against him. And he's done a really, really good job of coming in, throwing strikes, working ahead, and then he's finishing guys, pretty quickly. So he's going to be valuable. He's been great so far. He's going to continue to be extremely valuable moving forward.
One of the things I love about this show is obviously the crowd support we have behind the camera. They show up week in and week out. And as I said at the open of this segment, it's a family affair today. Willie, you have some siblings in town, and we wanted to get them a chance to come up here to the table as well. So Joe and Carla are in town. This is your show, so this is the beautiful part of it. I have a couple questions for them, but take us a little bit through. I know you're the youngest of 4, and so now they get to come on your show. I guess I'll let you introduce them.
Oh, boy. Well, my daughter Natalie is here, too. She's
Okay.
got to go to her sorority function, so she'll be bailing here in the middle of this. But my second sister, my oldest Melanie, is not here, but Carla is my number 2 sister, and then my big brother Joe. Used to
clap them up. Joe, we'll put you over there.
Carla was always nice and gentle to me. This one, not so much. Pounded me, pretty good growing up and toughened me up a little bit, I guess. Nonetheless, I'm happy to have them down here. And Carla and her husband have a house out in Queen Creek, and we're trying to talk him into getting a place down here as well. So, but it's awesome to have the family support.
In terms of Willie being a fierce competitor, obviously we saw it throughout his playing career. We now see it when he's in the dugout coaching as well.
Right.
Growing up, was that Willie at all times? Was he always just a fierce competitor?
I like to take credit for showing him the way on that one. I was a horse rider and was a pretty heavy competitor, and so I think he took after me on that one. But one of the best stories was when Willie was in T-ball, and we're talking little, when they don't keep score. And he would come home and go, "Mom, it was 34-3." And so he knew, and he would just be like, if you ever watched him play, was mad at that age if the first baseman let the ball go by and had an error, because he just would be frustrated that there are these T-ball kids that couldn't make the play. And so I feel like he had that in his genes from the get-go. We watched him through every phase of his career and every single level. And one thing I was telling you earlier was there was always just this understanding that he was going to make it to the next level no matter what. It was like, well, okay, he's in the minors now, but he'll pitch in the majors next year, or he'll play this position after that. And it was just assumed. And we had very supportive parents that kind of put him in that range of, where he needed to be, but there was no doubt that he carried the load going through each of those levels for sure.
That's awesome.
So.
Yeah, and a fierce competitor still, like I said, even when he's coaching.
Yes.
Joe, I understand you're a really good athlete as well. By the way, just flew in from Montana, I understand. So straight from the airport to the show.
Yeah, it's literally straight from the airport. So.
I love it. So you're here supporting. You're a great athlete as well, played at Washington, as I understand it. But in terms of Willie and being the younger brother to you, as Willie said, you might have beat up on him a little bit, but was there a specific moment when he was growing up where you had to come to the realization that, okay, maybe things are changing, he's starting to fight back a little bit more now?
Yeah, being 4.5 years older than him, it was kind of like he was the fill-in kid at my Little League teams and my junior teams and things like that. He was kind of the fill-in kid. Our dad was the coach, and It didn't matter what sport we played, whether it was wiffle ball or playing horse on the basketball court or shooting or whatever it came down to. When he got good enough, I wouldn't play him anymore. So it got to be, I mean, we grew up in a very competitive family, and it was always one of those deals where, all right, you want to play horse? Okay, well, when he started getting to the point where he was beating me, we would extend the game to horse race or horse something, and then I mean, everything in my ounce to beat him. And once I finally did, when I knew he was probably better than me, I wouldn't play him in that game anymore. So it would instill a fire in him to be better. And I didn't necessarily do it on purpose. I hated to lose too. So, but he just naturally, by playing with bigger and older kids that were my age, he developed the skills to dominate at every level that he played. So it just went on from there. But I just got to the point where I'm like, no, he's too good. I'm not playing him in that one anymore. It's time to move on to something else.
I could only notice the smile on your face, Willie, when he was talking about that. So same question to you. Was there a moment you remember where you're like, okay, I think I'm starting to get him now?
Well, he would just resort to wrestling and fighting then. when he couldn't beat me on the basketball court or wiffle ball, he would just start pounding the heck out of me. And that I still couldn't. I still to this day can't beat him at that. So, no, it was fun. To an extent, fun, growing up with an older brother that was 4.5 years older, because I was always striving to try to keep up with him and all of his buddies, and he paved the way, for me, and his sport ended up being football, and playing football at University of Washington, and it was always kind of got to that point when he left for college that we became more friends than brothers, from a standpoint of just really supporting each other and having each other's back in a lot of different things in life. So that part of it, we kind of outgrew the brotherly love of pounding on each other to more of just kind of a friendship things now. So it's been great experiencing life with him and my sisters, and going on hunting trips, fishing trips together, and those type of things where real life is enjoyable. So that I'm very appreciative about.
I was going to ask about embarrassing moments or anything like that, but we'll do that off camera. I'll find you guys after. But thanks for coming up, and certainly the family affair is awesome tonight at the program.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
One more for you, Willie, and then we'll let you go as your siblings depart the set. In terms of keys to the weekend against Kansas State, I know you mentioned offensively they're a tough squad, and obviously a couple of frontline starters that might be a challenge. But it seems like defense is always important, especially when you're playing on the road in conference play. A team in Kansas State that puts the ball in play a pretty good amount. But what are some of those other things that you guys really need to focus on this week leading up to that series against K-State?
Well, I think from the defensive side of the ball, obviously limit the free passes. That's going to be the big key. Don't give extra outs, throughout an inning. Obviously try to limit it to 3 outs an inning, meaning, handle the baseball fundamentally and don't give those guys extra opportunities to score runs. If we can limit the free base runners and limit the extra outs, I think we'll be fine on that side of the ball. And then on the offensive side of the ball, again, the emphasis of when you have opportunities to drive runs in, get them in, put the ball in play with 2 strikes, continue to get the ball above the zone, which we've done a better job at. We're still not a finished product there, but our guys are starting to understand the importance of seeing the breaking ball up and not chasing below the zone. If we can do those things on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, I think we'll have a good chance.
So the 8-game homestand is over. It's off to Manhattan, Kansas, where, like you said, hopefully the weather cooperates. Hopefully it's not too bad this weekend. Friday will be at 4 p.m. local time here in the Valley. Saturday at 2 o'clock. Sunday at 11 a.m. So 3 different game times again. Friday at 4, Saturday at 2, Sunday at 11 a.m. All games on the Sun Devil Radio Network or ESPN Plus as well. Coach, fun show again. Glad we got your siblings up here. And a good week to be an Arizona State Sun Devil, and hopefully more to come to build off of on the road this week in Kansas.
Well, it's hard to believe we're already 19 games into this thing. We're almost at the halfway point, if you can imagine that. After this road trip, we'll be close to the halfway point of this season, which is just flying by. But what I would say is that we are a very exciting team. We've had great fan support so far this year. I beg and plead and ask, please keep coming out because that atmosphere matters. And it's said it, I'll say it again. It's a huge recruiting tool for us to have our local fans, coming out and supporting our guys, and it's a fun team to watch. So, chance to do something special again, but we want the support, need the support out at Muni.
No doubt, and it's been good so far, and hopefully when the boys are back in town next weekend, in those midweek games as well, as you said, hopefully the crowd continues to show up the way it has so far this year. Next week on this program, Jeff Munn will be filling in for me in this chair. We'll be back at the same time, same place, Blanco Cocina and Cantina, for another edition of Dugout Chatter. That'll be next week, but until then, take care, and the Devils are off to Kansas to take on K-State. So long.